Speak up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vernisa,
Hey, y'all. This is Jen.
and this is our podcast, Speak Up.
Speak.
What's up, Jen?
Hey, girl.
How are you?
I'm good. Happy to be back. How are you?
Oh, I'm glad you back too. I'm good. Glad that we made it to episode 76 live on the Good News Radio.
Y'all, I can't even believe we're about to hit our lucky double sevens.
Yes, most definitely. For those of you that don't know, me and Jen are best friends, and we created this podcast to use our voices to motivate people to overcome life challenges through self-love and respect.
That's right, y'all. Self-love and respect are two core values we hold near and dear to our hearts.
Yes, for real. If y'all know that by now, y'all ain't been listening.
For real.
Before we get started, a quick shout out to our amazing sponsors. Shout out to My Bar, located at 720 East Manchester in Inglewood, California. Get your nails, your lashes, your hair done. Ask for mine. Tell them that Speak Up JV sent you. The Instagram is at myy.bar.
And shout out to our other sponsor, Be Actual Natural. Why settle for less? All their products are created with you in mind for a goal to let your self-love show through your self-care. Their chemical-free hair and skincare products are handmade, plant-based, and free of fillers or preservatives. Treat yourself while you're taking care of yourself. Start your journey at www.beactualnatural.com or check them out on Instagram at beactualnatural.
Yes, for real. Look, re-up on them products real quick. So, Jen, I'm super excited for tonight's episode. I feel like we ain't did one of these in a minute. One of these, like, our what's the word? I don't know the word. Crochet. What's the
Yeah, our special
our thingy, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say.
our JV magic.
Yes, our magic. Yeah. So, what's our episode title so they know what we're talking about?
Tonight, our episode is called Let It Progress.
Oh, let it progress. Y'all, I know y'all like, what are they talking about? Here we go. Y'all, we talking about letting that healing progress, okay? Like accepting what comes with the healing. I think sometimes when we progress, when we're healing, we don't realize it is a progression and that our lives is going to change for the better. And certain things ain't going to be the same. It's going to be habits that ain't the same. Certain people that don't rock with you no more. Shoot, you ain't going to even recognize yourself anymore. But I think not being afraid of the progression that comes with it.
I agree 100%. Yeah, it's funny because when you look at life like on a day-to-day thing, nothing looks like it's changing, right? Maybe what you're doing today isn't drastically different than what you were doing yesterday. But if you look back at your life like 5 years ago, then you realize, wow, certain things really are different. I eat better, or I sleep better, or I change careers, or my fitness habits are better. Anything, but it's crazy because it all started with that one day decision that you made on wanting to heal or wanting to move and progress as a human being.
I love that. And like I've been guilty of like being scared of the progress. Like cause you're like, oh shoot, I'm really doing this now. This part of my life. Like this what I do. And and it's crazy how like it doesn't even feel like a chore anymore, like something you have to do when you start that healing. It becomes natural, it's like second nature. Like how many of y'all started working out for the first time, right? And it became a habit, like you do it all the time, and it's like you could just it's like it is a second nature. So it's really like I'm accepting it because I think it's easy sometimes for us to maneuver back to old ways because it's like, oh, this is where I'm actually going to the gym now. Oh, I'm actually doing this. I'm actually saying no to people now.
Right.
That was mine because like my old people pleasing ways, it was hard for me to say no. I'm at a point now I can say no. I'm like, I didn't even feel no way after that. Like I actually said no. Like,
I mean, it's cool because when you think about it, like practicing on healing and moving forward is like working a muscle, right? And I love that you brought up, like even the gym being a part of your everyday routine or into your regular habits, because yeah, at first progress hurts. At first it hurts maybe waking up a little bit earlier for the gym, or it hurts saying no to people. But then after you keep doing it, you realize, yeah, I'm working this muscle out, and it becomes, like you were saying, second nature. But it's about getting over that discomfort in order for it to be a regular thing.
I love that. And sometimes when you're progressing, you lose people in the process. Like let's say on this gym topic. Let's say you got friends who don't rock with the gym and like they're calling, like let's say it's your gym time, like you go at night, but they're like, oh, let's go out and have drinks, but you're like committed. You might have to say no and be okay with that. I think we're scared of like, oh shoot, I'm gonna lose friends or people ain't gonna, because if a person really care about you, they'll respect that. Like, okay, they're in the gym now, like, or respect that healthy habit that you came up with.
That's true. Yeah. Why do you need people who don't support your healthy habits anyway, right?
So that's real. We're gonna debunk all that because all that come with healing. Okay. So our ask up question of the day is how would you define the word healing in relation to your emotional slash spiritual slash mental health? How does healing look on you? So Jim was like, we're gonna do a big question. We're gonna fatten the mud with this one. This a double breaker right here. So do you want to go first? You want me to go first? I need to
You
go.
can go first. Yeah.
Okay, healing. The way I would define the word healing is transformation,
Mm,
evolving. I say that because you really aren't the same you after. Like when you evolve, you transform. It's another person you don't even recognize. So like going off what we said, you don't recognize your healed self anymore. And
mhm.
let's be real, the transform, right? Like when that caterpillar turns to the butterfly, it's not. It's a process, right? So it may hurt. I don't know how a butterfly feels when they're going through it, right? So it's a whole change. We can never say if they feel pain or not, but
Mhm.
you're not the same after. But it's for the better, right? And I would say, how does it look on me? Oh my goodness, it looks. You know what? Healing is so damn dope. It looks like strength.
Mm,
I'm so proud of this woman that I'm becoming that I'm like, because I don't recognize my old self anymore, right? And certain like my perspective of life has even changed. Like I feel like it's at a point this strength and built that even like when challenges arise, I don't even see it in the unhealed self anymore. Like, oh my goodness, it's like, okay, how the fuck am I gonna figure this out? I love this new lens. It gave me new eyes, I already wear contacts, but it gave me another pair of like, something, right? So, and then it goes with my spiritual, my mental, and my emotional. Like, I allow myself to process, and I'm not afraid of the hardcore part, which is if I have to cry it out or if anger arises. All right, how the f am I gonna figure this out and I get through it? So that's I would say that's my double answer.
ooh, I love that a lot. Yeah, no, I have to definitely piggyback off of that. For me, I would define healing in as almost like a race, but in a race where it's only against yourself, obviously,
Mhm.
not against anybody else's time or anything like that. But it's one that you're constantly on, and one that you are aware that you have to continue to practice for, right? Because I think we hear that term healing or I'm healing so much. I mean, we were discussing this before the episode, but like, what does it really mean these days, But for me, like thinking of it as like a marathon, or that race that I'm on,
Mm.
it's a reminder, how do you prepare for that marathon? You have to properly nourish yourself, right? You have to mentally prepare yourself, as well as physically. So healing has to do with all of that as well, that it's not just knowing you're going to do it, it's how, executing those plans on how you're going to move forward and everything. um, and for me, healing, how does it look on me? I mean, I would just say a lot of smiles, more radiance overall,
Mm.
but then also too a lot of tears, because that means I'm purging my soul as well. It means that I'm letting go of things that are not good for me. So it's also realizing that healing is the ugly parts that maybe I don't want to show the world, but maybe I only show, certain people in my life. And knowing that that's okay, that that's part of it, that race as well. Because think about it, even when you're training for something, you're going to fall, scrape your knees, you're going to run out of breath, feeling like you're going to pass out and all that. But it doesn't mean, it means you're moving forward, you're progressing as well. So, um,
Mm.
healing is also accepting those ugly parts as well as the good parts.
Oh, that was a beautiful. I love that she threw that marathon in there. Shout out to Nipsey. Yeah, that's some real stuff. And I think too, healing is taking care of yourself. Look at boxers. Like y'all know I'm a poet, so I like to talk in this. But when they gotta go sit, they meet with their manager for a little bit and have to pat their face and give them water. You're taking care of yourself. You're nurturing yourself through that whole crazy ass experience. So, oh, I love that. Shout out to the marathon. Yeah, the run. And then speaking of marathon, I run with a group on Tuesday. Well, I run with a group, and they are prepping for a marathon. So it's like it takes a lot of practice, drinking water, changing these habits, getting that rest. So look at it that way, y'all, metaphorically, if that's the way I can say.
Yes, no, definitely. I love that. I mean, you and I usually compare our things to like fitness or, we're going to the gym or anything like that, because I feel like it's the easiest way to start understanding ourselves, even in the sense of we all know, right, that if you want to get the body that you're achieving for or you're striving for or anything like that, it's going to take work.
Mhm.
So why do we accept so willingly to work for that, but not so much for our emotional health or our other aspects of our,
Mm.
so we need to really start taking all of those into account and realizing, okay, if I could do this physically, I can start working on myself emotionally and mentally and even spiritually, and knowing that it's a day by day thing. And even when you're working out, right? Some days you're not going to feel like working out and you're like, let me give myself a little bit of grace and maybe do a shorter workout today. So it's kind of the same thing with healing, even emotionally. Maybe today is a day where you need to really cry, but you know what? Let that out. Let it out, even if it comes out in spurts, rather than having one big ass blowout on a different day and then
Mhm.
realizing, oh, I should have been working on this to begin with, right?
Cause y'all know them blowouts ain't it. I know y'all know you're trying to act like you was okay about something that hit you later. And then I learned to appreciate those triggers. I used to get mad. Oh, why did I see that? Why did that picture come up? But honestly, it was needed. It was like that little nudge. Like, nope, you ain't healed from it. Let me just throw it in your face real quick so it can all come out. So that's me again changing my perspective of how I see when things happen, if that makes sense. And don't be afraid to outgrow these old habits. Don't be afraid of your healed self. It's going to be a different you and it's going to take some time to get used to it. So I guess let's get into this next topic, Bestie. Signs that you aren't used to your healed or healing identity. So at best friend, on your healing journey so far, at the age that you're on, everything experience you've been through, have you been feeling like, have you ever had a chance where you felt like you didn't recognize this, like Jen, that's this new Jen, Jen that's healing? I'll say
Yeah,
that.
for sure. I used to think that me not being so affectionate or not opening up to people meant that I was strong, that nothing could touch me. But in reality, I was just fighting for that weaker inner child. But as I've been doing this journey and everything, I've realized that it's okay to be more affectionate. It's okay to confide in certain people, you know, and also just trusting myself that I'm making those right decisions. And I think that's been one of the biggest parts of me realizing, oh shoot, this is a new gen, in learning to trust people. Because at first, yeah, I was very closed off, and in working on myself and everything, this new healing identity, it's like, okay, can I trust this person? And then even forgiving myself if I trusted the wrong person with something even so minor. Obviously I'm not putting my business out there to everybody, but if I trusted somebody with something minor and they showed me they can't be trusted, okay, cool, at least I took that extra step and let myself know that person's not trustworthy, or maybe they are trustworthy or anything. But I've realized that this healing identity lets people in an easier way, and then forgives myself if it turns out to be the wrong person as well.
Oh, that was a nice answer. Y'all ain't ready. Look, Jen coming for the throats tonight, y'all. Just listen. So I went to my way to a sign. I would say for me personally, if you were any of my close friends, y'all know I overthink. I'm an overthinker. That's who I am. Um, a way that I knew I wasn't comfortable in my healing identity is when I reached a level of peace, right? Where my mind was clear, but I caught myself still resorting to try to find problems and still think about them. So let's say it's a great day, everything's going good, but like my mind will still like want to think about something little and just have that one problem of the day. And that's something I had to combat, because that's not healthy. Because it's like I'm disturbing my own peace. There's nothing even wrong, but still got to find, or say something small didn't happen, making it bigger than what it is, so I can still feel comfortable in that unhealed space. So we have to check ourselves when that happens as well, and push all that away. I made a mantra to myself that I'm a really detached from things that are not serving me. Like, why enthrall myself in things that are making me feel a certain way? Let it go if it doesn't have nothing to do with me personally, if that makes sense.
And I love that, because for those of us who are afraid to let go of a little bit of control, and I say us because I've shared this before, I have control issues. That is something you can control, in detaching yourself and realizing, you know what, there's nothing I can do about this person or this particular situation, maybe at this moment or whatever, but I'm allowing myself to keep that control in how I react to it or how much I let it affect me. And then what can I do moving forward?
Oh, I love that. See, look, I learned something just now. Like literally, you want to control something, look, we'll give you something to control. Look,
That's right.
that's perfect. And it's like when you really do realize how much control of your life you really have. Like society makes like we don't, and there's a lot of things. Literally, just starting with your mind. What are
Yep.
you allowing with thoughts? What are you allowing to affect you? Okay, it hurts you, but how much energy you're gonna waste staying on that or whatever? What are you doing with your time? So it's true. And I want to say this too, y'all. Love yourself enough to keep your blessings. So this is another one we're gonna talk about. So with healing, you know, when you're healing and you want the best for yourself, you're going to value those good things in your life. Whether it's a person or an item you have, whatever, that place, that apartment you bought, whatever, you're going to do what it takes, right, to keep it. Why give yourself the end of the spoon, the bottom, the crumbs, right? But it's going to take some work to keep these things. It's like we say, work to get it, work to keep it. We could get blessed right now, but it's like you got blessed with a great friend. Are you doing the work to keep that friend or a lover, whatever it is? You know what I'm saying? So that's something else I want to throw out there as well.
I mean, I've brought this up before too, with even like when this whole manifestation thing was becoming popular, like
Mm.
people were saying, oh, manifest this, manifest that. Okay, but just because something gets brought to you doesn't mean, yeah, like you were saying, you get to keep it. It doesn't mean that you did everything necessary to really keep nourishing it and really feel worthy on top of that too, because I know all day long we can say, oh, I want money, I want, the best car, I want a certain type of lover, I want a certain type of body. We can want all day long. That's easy. It's the part about feeling that you're worthy enough to do the work to actually deserve it. Because even something like, you know like this car, for example, right, that I'm paying off, it may not be the best car in the world, but it gets me going. It's my baby because I work hard for it. But I also have to feel worthy enough to keep it, to realize, dang, I have to do maintenance. I have to make sure my payments are on time. I have to really treasure it the way that I would, if it was an expensive car. So, in talking about a material thing like that too, it's just goes back to yourself about how much work have you actually done to realize that you are worthy to even have those things in the first place. Because when you feel like you're worthy to have something or have someone or whatever in your life, then you're able to take that extra step and do the work that it actually takes. Because if you don't feel that worth in the beginning, then you're just setting yourself up for failure to lose something or someone in the end.
It's gonna get worse when you actually have you, because you're like, oh, and that's where that self sabotaging comes in. That's so true. And it's like, water the plants, water your plant, and water your loved ones' plants as well. I feel like everything's give and take. You know what I mean, with the blessings in our lives. So I like that you said that. And also too, there's another part we came up with is enjoy how refreshing it is to not respond to things that you used to. Like, I learned the power in that silence. Like, if someone's coming at me crazy, I don't have to go back and forth. I can just remove myself. Like, I saw a post yesterday. Someone posted it, and it said, as adults, take accountability for what we can allow certain things in our life, or remove it. We actually
Mm.
can control. Okay, who am I going to spend this time with, this energy with? You don't have to sit there and argue with people and go back and forth.
Mhm.
Or have the last word. Like, we were kids, I was cool, but now I'm like, I don't have to. I don't even care if they misunderstand me at this point. Like, I don't care.
No, that's big too. I think one, that's how you avoid what they call like unnecessary suffering. I mean, I brought
Mm.
this up last time where it's like unnecessary suffering is us purposely putting ourselves in these situations or keeping ourselves in these situations when, like you were saying, I could just walk away or choose not to even respond in the first place. Today, I was watching a video on, well, I mean, this was a little extreme, but it was
Okay.
on um, a girl who doesn't eat meat, and she was yelling at a guy on the street who was eating his kebab. I understand you have your ideals. Obviously, we don't eat meat anymore, but I would never go up to somebody and judge them for eating meat in their first place. That's their decision. And I loved his lack of a response. He just kept eating his kebab and he's like, you know what? Like, I'm not even going to respond to this person. But it just shows how we can control ourselves and just really dive deep into realizing how powerful peace actually is, because the one who was more disturbed was the one who was supposed to be teaching a lesson, but him, he was like, I'm just here chilling, like, you interrupted my meal, like, at the end of the day, I'm not judging you for your ideals, so why you judge me for mine?
No, that's some real stuff. Like, in the day too, like, enjoy that peace that comes with it. Like, I feel like you have to recognize too when some people are in a healing space and some aren't, because if someone isn't, they're going to be mad at that light that you have or the healing that you're actually doing. You know what I mean? And they're gonna want to put that down or anything, or like disturb what he's doing. So I want to say this too: people gonna have a problem whether he. I bet you if he wasn't eating meat, it would have been, oh, that's made out of this, or that shirt you got on is made from this. So, do you? That's really.
And can I just say this too? One thing I've learned and just continue learning, you are going to always piss somebody off.
Mhm.
It is what it is. Like, I think in today's climate, the way things are, we just are never going to please everybody. And
Nope.
why should we? I think that's what makes us individuals. Obviously, if you're harming somebody or your ideals, are completely destroying somebody's life, that's a whole different thing. But like, if a difference in opinion is what's, pissing somebody off, okay, we're all entitled to our own opinions.
Oh, we're all entitled. I love that. At the end of the day, because I feel like you can be minding your business, someone's still gonna be mad. You can be having a good day, someone's like, "Oh, you so happy." Like,
Yeah,
okay, whatever. I'd rather be blamed for that than being mad all the time. I want
right.
to pat yourself on your back for your growth. I've been practicing like complimenting myself, like good job. Like I've been sticking to this running thing I've been doing, and I'm like, I pat myself on the back after, like, oh, you did another week. Hey, like give yourself that credit as you do it. I think we're so used to, well, I didn't lose this weight or whatever, like whatever that goal is, that we hold our flowers until that happens. There's no end healed point, because even when you get to that end result, it's still gonna be something. You know what I mean? So pat yourself along the back on the way.
That's right. There's always new triggers, always something to keep working on. That's why I always say we're unfinished masterpieces. Like, yes, we're
Yes.
very beautiful creatures. We each have our own soul and everything, but we're never fully done. There's never, and I think that's the beautiful part about life, that you're just never done growing. So you should never be done enjoying the parts of life. As sad as certain things may be, as hard as certain, events may hit you and everything, like, you should always just be able to enjoy the fact that you can grow, that even if it takes time, you have something to look forward to. I think that's how I've started looking at life recently, where, like, okay, maybe this happened to me and maybe I'm angry about it right now, but I have something better to look forward to, or something happier to look forward to, something lighter. And even, like, again, going back to the marathon training,
Mhm.
are you only going to pat yourself when you finally win that medal, or when you finally run that marathon? Or are you going to pat yourself when you're 1 minute less or even 30 seconds less on your mile time? When you
Oh.
stamina up, like, these are the things that you should put into perspective for yourself. So even, yeah, on a wider aspect of your life, think about, yeah, the things that no longer bother you as much, or maybe a painful breakup that you went through doesn't hurt as much as it used to, and you realize how much stronger you are from it. Just different things like that, I think, is really going to help us in enjoying how much we really are growing.
Yeah, and that's gonna keep you motivated at the end of the day and keep going. So, oh, I love it. And honestly, what's the worst thing that can happen if you love yourself enough to want to heal? Like, really ask yourself that. So please keep being nice to yourself. We always talk about self talk on this show, and it goes with literally every topic we talk about. So it is time for our tweet up segment. So y'all know I like to be on Twitter. So I don't know why I said it like that, but something that Jimmy laughing at my voices, but something that that I tweeted this week that goes with the show is some people aren't meant to be in your life for your healed chapter. And honestly, me and La was just talking about that on our, like 3 episodes ago, about people not being used to that healed version of you. These are people around you that you grew up with, that seen you go through trauma, seen you in a hurt space, seen you have those breakdowns, and now that you're in a better space, it's hard for them to fathom it or accept it. And you got to really be cautious about who you're letting around you. And some people are going to try to remind you of that past you that used to break down. And some people really want you to heal. Of course, they're going to be by your side for that.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you're healing, we should never be afraid of losing people.
Yep.
It's easier said than done, of course, because maybe you grew up with this person, maybe you really love this person means a lot to you, maybe they're family, you can't necessarily cut them off forever, XYZ reason. But again, like you were saying, as we become adults, we do have a choice of who we let into our lives. And if it is like a family member or something, just limit how much you really interact with them, how much you share with them, how much, yeah, they really know about you, to begin with. But if you can cut this person off and you realize, like, you know what, we've outgrown each other, we're going in different spaces, and we don't see eye to eye anymore, then yeah, it's okay to let that person go. At the end of the day, I believe we learn everything, or we learn something from every person that we come across. And I think that's another beautiful thing too, because I've been learning about so many perspectives, and maybe learning about people's behaviors, why they do things a certain way, but then also why I do things a certain way. Maybe I wasn't meant to be in their chapter as well, and that's why we're meant to drift apart. So it doesn't have to be a bad thing. Doesn't mean there's bad blood. It just means that we're not headed towards a similar journey. So why waste each other's time?
Oh, that's well said. And shout out to Law. She was also talking about how, like, people sometimes benefited from the unhealed version of you. So let's say y'all you're a people pleaser, you can't say no. There's people that okay, she's not gonna say no. They'll use you and things like that. And it's like really acknowledging who's there for that. And sometimes hitting your lowest point will show you who's actually there for you. So you got two different people that are there for you at your lowest point. You got the people who really got your back right, who gonna help you. Then you got those people who enjoying you at that lowest point and they're feeding off of that shit. Watch out for that second option because that's real. They seem like they're listening. Oh, I'm here for you. They answer the phone, but they're really happy you going through that. And I think that's why some people, when that light's coming back on, it's like they can't even come around anymore.
I agree.
And you have to really watch out for that because that stuff is real. Healing is a whole process and you're going to transform, but you cannot be afraid of it because guess what? If you're afraid of losing that friend, you're going to be afraid of the healing. You're going to stop because you're going to want to stay in that level with them.
I was going to say, yeah, I think we need to learn to differentiate between who's actually there for us when we're at our lowest point and who's enabling us at our lowest point. That's a big difference, right? Someone who's actually there for you is going to speak life into you. They're going to remind you of your worth, help you see you in the way that you may not see yourself at that moment. But somebody who's enabling that, they're just going to be your cheerleader, the peanut gallery in the background, really reminding, or not reminding you, but like really just egging it on of like, oh yeah, I do notice you do this, and maybe you continue to do this all the time and blah blah blah, and then they just keep adding on to it. There's a difference between tough love and then criticism as well. So just learning all these different things, right? It is going to be on a case-by-case basis. Obviously we don't have a blanket answer, but yeah,
that is so true. But you guys, we are about to take a quick 3-minute commercial break, so y'all better get ready for that water segment that's coming, and we'll be right back. All right, you guys, we are back and we are talking about healing and allowing yourself to progress with the healing. So, a lot of shows are about healing, let's be honest, but they don't talk about what comes with the healing, the losing the friendships, not recognizing yourself anymore. The, what's that word called? Imposter syndrome that comes with healing. So we are talking about all that tonight. Me and Jimmy having them topics, don't we? So back to our episode. So we left off on people not being around for, not deserving of being around you for your healed chapter. So I want to say, if they're not there for your worst, why bring these people around at your best?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a Marilyn Monroe quote, but it says like, if you couldn't handle me at my worst, how could you handle me at my best, or something along those lines. And I really like that because even though, the quote originally was probably intended to be taken a certain way, I take it more as, yeah, if I'm over here really struggling, I'm not financially off the way that I want to be, emotionally maybe I'm not at my best either, XYZ, as long as I'm still trying to be a good person, if you can't be around me for that time, how are you going to be around me when I'm actually healing from all of that stuff, when I'm actually trying to be better? Spiritually, I'm rising up as well, and financially, I'm doing better and everything. So just really realizing that even if you have history with somebody, as much as you want them to be around, if they're not benefiting you, maybe you're not benefiting them either. If neither of you are willing to grow or can grow or are no longer compatible, then it's time to reevaluate.
That's so true. It's definitely a give and take. And by worse, there's different definitions of it, of course. We're not saying those people that are hindering you. There's a difference between someone who's at their worst, but they're just mean as if they don't give a F. They're using you and stuff like that. We're talking about people like life circumstances happen to them, and it's like they're just in a chapter right now that's storm. So we're making that clear too on the show. But I feel you on that. So it is time for our life up segment. So that's when we take the episode and we relate it to something going on in the world. So Bestie, what's our life up for tonight?
Ooh, this one is one that I think we all need to discuss. But some of us, or some people, thinking that reading, retweeting, buying, etc., all the self-help materials or quotes is going to somehow magically heal them. You ever see somebody post something online and you're like, I know damn well you do not practice that philosophy.
Like, wait a minute. Hold up. This is shutting that button. It's a lot of that. Like, people so quick, because I feel like we're in a generation where no one wants to take accountability. So we're quick to always seem like we never do nothing wrong. So those quotes really do be getting retweeted, posted, bought, and all that. You can read all the self-help books in the world. If you're not practicing what's in that, because I'll be real, the person that wrote that book had to go through something to even write that book. So it's like we can read it all day and say, I'm positive. And then that's where that toxic positivity comes from. and we get stuck blaming people. Let's talk about too the rise of saying I'm healing, but not doing the actual work. So has someone ever did something grimy to you and they said I'm healing? That's not an excuse to do some grimy foul shit. Like how long you gonna be saying for 10 years? You're just gonna say, well, I'm in a healing space. That quit throwing that around. Healing is doing the actual work, is the transformation, the evolution that we're talking about. Really working on yourself. But if you just doing the same shit every day, not trying to work, but you're using I'm healing as your excuse to do people foul, no.
I think that's what makes me most sad about like even talking about healing, because it's almost become an excuse for people to not do the work, where it's like, oh, you hear I'm healing, okay, it's just a phase that they're going through, it's just a chapter that I'm going through. And then because you can't really place a timeline on somebody healing, it's not like you can actually even say, well, you were still doing this like, a month ago or 2 months ago, because yeah, we all heal at different paces. But it is something that needs to be addressed too, because we, the receiver of that excuse or whichever, needs to also be discerning in how we see that person. Like, okay, do we see that they're actually trying to heal, or is this just becoming a clutch for them? And it sucks because then the self-help community, it starts losing its credibility and everything. But yeah, like, it's not enough for you read a book and, oh my gosh, that book changed my life. How? Like, what are you actually doing that changed your life for the better from that book? Like, what are you actually practicing that you read, right? So just watching out for stuff like that, even in ourselves too, because sometimes we're like super amped after hearing a podcast or reading a book or something. You're like, yeah, I'm ready to start doing this and whatever. But then what happens when that motivation is no longer there? I think that's when we need to really start disciplining ourselves and to continue our healing journey, because just like that marathon practice, it's going to come certain days where you're not going to want to do the work to heal.
That's so true. It's like going to those entrepreneur seminars and you're pumped, but then are you taking the steps to build your business or whatever it is you're trying to do? So I'm glad you brought that up. Like, don't let it lose its meaning. So it's like it's not enough to just acknowledge that we need to heal. It's like we actually have to sit down and rewire our brain. Are we taking the time to forgive? Are we letting go of things? Are we cutting off toxic people? Though all that's a part of it. Are we sitting with ourselves? Are we allowing ourselves to cry? Are we changing our perspective, changing our self-talk? All those things are things that go with healing. So how do we fix this? Shoot, do those things I just listed.
I think too, it goes individually, right? Because I can pour love into somebody all day long, but if they don't want to do the work, it's not going to go through them, in one ear out the other. So it just really comes into accountability within yourself and what can I do to heal. And then if I can help in my healing, help heal my relationships around me, then that's an extra plus too, right? Then that's going to ultimately fall on the other person, but it all starts with our own individual selves. You know how that quote that says, be the change you want to see in the world. So that really means you have to start doing that change within yourself in order for you to start seeing it in others.
Look, she dropping a quote today, but y'all know what time it is. It is time for our drink of water segment. So if you listening now, please grab some water and drink some water. And Jen's gonna have a water fact for tonight.
That's right, y'all. I'm just gonna sip my
Evian. What you got? There we go. We pop in.
It's eternal alkaline water.
Oh, we pop in. Go ahead, drink it, girl. Talk.
Okay. So in drinking water, we've talked about all kinds of body parts here, but we've never actually talked about feet. If you're like me and you're kind of creeped out by feet, then maybe that's why. But tonight's water fact actually had me shook and realized that water matters literally from my head down to my toes, because one of the most common foot problems caused by underhydration is foot cramps. Your muscles need a certain amount of water to operate properly. So if you find yourself dealing with frequent foot cramps, you may want to try drinking more water. And this is especially for those of y'all who wear heels, right? Because our feet tend to be curved at a certain angle, or even just if you have an arch in general, or even if you don't, but you're on your feet all day and you find yourself getting cramps, yeah, maybe we need to drink more water. I know it sounds easier said than done, but you never know. Like, a lot of things can be fixed by just hydrating yourself a little bit more.
Oh, look. So y'all get some foot cramps. You know what you need to do. Oh, but that was A water segment with Jen. Make sure y'all drink some water. I know y'all feet hurting out there. The
I
salt made
know.
it worse. But now back to back to our episode. So y'all remember, healing isn't linear. I know y'all hear this everywhere, but it's the truth. So like, have grace with yourself, even when you reach a milestone of progress and you feel like old ways coming back or something still bothering you from the past. It's gonna happen. Like life, it's no straight line. I'm here. Now some things are like that. Yeah, some things you get to a point, it's done, you never feel it ever again. But then there's still gonna be certain things that still bother you, or you still don't feel your best. You may have the best self talk, but one day wake up not even feeling like that, feeling popping anymore, and that's okay. We're human.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, for me right now, I am in a healing phase physically as well as emotionally and mentally in a lot of ways, because of something that I went through. And it was about a month ago that I went through this whole life changing emergency. But I realized even in this month that I've been trying to heal, had my ebbs and flows. Like today in particular was a little bit more of a hard day for me, and I realized I was struggling a little bit more. I even had a moment to let myself cry, but I realized too, this is my healing. Why should I be ashamed that I'm feeling this way? And I'm grateful that I have supportive people around me, and that I'm also able to work on my faith every day. So I do have my talks with God too, and just realizing that this is part of all my journey and that there is a light at the end of the tunnel for me. But some days I'm just going to fall and hit the concrete a little bit harder.
And it shows how powerful best friend you are as a person to admit that. Because I feel like we're in a generation where we act like we can't say we cried today. Like you saw how casual and easy it was for you just to say, "Oh yeah, I had a cry today." Not a lot. We're so unhealed. It's hard for us to admit. We got to seem like we never cry. We're always tough, and I think that's strength, and that shows the healing journey that you can just say that out loud. So, no, it's real. Don't be afraid of what comes, and I think it's we're all replenishing and we're getting stronger for the next whatever's coming. So, girl, you
Yeah.
doing it. And look, you on here talking on Speak Up. Look, so
And I was going to say that too. At some point today, I even questioned myself, like, well, damn, do I even have authority to speak on what I'm speaking on because of the way that I feel? But then I was like, you know what? This actually makes me more credible because it makes me realize that what I am working on in my healing progress, that it actually is working too. That how am I supposed to know what the healed version of me looks like if I never allow myself to see the unhealed version, the ugly version, make a relationship with that part that I wish I didn't have to? But because I am, it lets me know that it's okay, that it's all what makes me a whole person. I'm never going to be a perfect person, right? Just because I'm up here sitting and talking about self-love and everything doesn't mean I don't have my moments, I don't have my doubts or anything. Of course I do, and today just happened to be one of those days, and I love that I get to be on here and really just talk about that experience and say that it probably won't be the last time either. But you know what, I'm trying to just take it day by day and keep moving forward.
and that's the thing, best friend. Our show is a diary. This is us being real. We're real. That's what makes the show the show. We're not on here. Oh, I never felt that. Like this is Speak Up. Being able to talk through it, work and inspire other people. This is what it is. So I love that. I mean, come on, how much stuff have we went through since we've been doing this podcast? It's funny because I forgot we were on the mic for a second, but you know what I'm saying. But so it's like, girl, you doing it and you inspiring somebody. Someone. Oh, we're the Weird Ones podcast sent the 100 emoji. So hey, they was feeling what you saying. Thank you
Nice.
for your comment. We appreciate it. Look, see, look, they look. We the ish. Now, and I want to say too, learn to accept too that you'll always be the villain in someone's story, but don't let that affect you. So we're gonna talk about that. That's speaking of the healed version. There's gonna be people you don't talk to anymore, you don't deal with anymore. Shoot, I just get into that. But look, speaking of that, but you're gonna run into people too and stuff like that, and you'll probably always be the villain. They're gonna be the villain in your story, and then you can't let that bring you down. What someone else thinks, or today, you know how you handled a certain situation, and you know how they handled it. And if we sit there and hold on to the past, what would they think? That's just knocking your healing process and slowing it down.
And that's one of the hardest things, right? Because I think we like to do cleanup control so much with our reputations and act like we weren't doing a certain thing, back, especially when we were younger. And let's be real, we're only 28, right? So we still have a long ways to go to learn properly.
True, the song.
It is.
So scary.
It's about realizing that for some people, no matter how much we do quote unquote cleanup control, that yeah, they are always going to see us a certain way. Maybe because we weren't compatible with them and our worst side was coming out at that time, or their worst side was coming out at that time too.
Ugh.
So even though that's hard, it's okay, right? Because yeah, there's certain people where I'm just gonna be like, you know what, they did me foul, and no matter how much self love I see them go through and everything, I'm always gonna think that about them. But it doesn't mean there's no bad blood or anything. It just means for me personally, I don't need that person in my life, and they probably feel the same way about me.
Yeah, because there's certain wounds that they're just gonna be there, and it's like it's always gonna be touched if that person's thought of, or if you see that person, and it is what it is, and it's okay to agree to disagree. Sometimes too, y'all just gonna see things totally different, and that's so like it just never be no resolution. I learned that too, because I'm a very rational thinker. For those of y'all that know me, I like to look at both sides. We just like that too. We sit. That's why our friendship has lasted 2 weeks. We're very critical, but not everyone's like that. So I'll be like, well, whatever. Shoot. Nah, but I'm just all jokes aside, though. For real though, like sometimes you'll never see eye to eye with somebody, and it's okay. So I just keep my contacts on and keep it pushing.
That's right. Or put my glasses on now that they're cool and keep going.
We always got to roast on our eyes on here. Like we both wear glasses and contacts. So. She sure not say true. Okay, I thought she was about to say true again. But yeah, anyway, y'all, it is time for our quote of segment. So y'all know my bestie is a quote, and she has a quote for tonight.
So our quote for tonight is: "Your wound is probably not your fault, but your healing is your responsibility," by Denise Roman. Love this quote for many reasons, but I think for one of them, um, it places the responsibility back on us, that accountability that we were talking about earlier, right? Because yes, I've heard, people from all walks of life talk about, oh, well, it's not my fault that my parents did this to me, or that I was betrayed by this person, or that blah blah blah. We could think of a list of things. We all have a story, so we've all been wronged in some way. We've all thought life is unfair in one way or another. So yes, we're left with scars and wounds that maybe we don't even talk about with other people. But what we do about that scar and that wound is up to us. Are we festering it or are we healing it? And you get to decide. My partner puts this perfectly: what wolf you want to feed to, right? If you want to feed the darker wolf or the lighter wolf, and whichever one you feed is the one who ultimately ends up taking over. So it's that same thing about that wound, that if you let it fester, then yeah, guess what? It's gonna take over, right? What happens with infections? They start to grow, they start to get bigger. But same thing with healing, that once it heals, it's closed, and then probably another part of that that was near that area is also better too, because you were taking the time to take care of that part.
I love that, and it goes with too like not being a victim of your circumstances. Because yeah, like let's be real. Speak up wouldn't be here if we sat here and said, "Well, I went through this and I went through this and this." How could we even speak on here? We're actively trying to work through. Yeah, we're not perfect about it. I'm not saying we got it all together, but you know what I'm saying? Like we're trying to do this is a way. This is a healthy mechanism of coping with things we've been through, talking about it, having these inspiring conversations and stuff. But it takes that decision of like, okay, I don't want to be like that. Because like, let's say your parents are a certain way, you can either be just like them or fall into how they raised you, or do the complete opposite. And now I'm gonna be real. Doing the opposite is gonna be the hard, because yeah, you're gonna get the most whiplash when you're trying to do right. However, if you really want to make that change and heal from whatever it is, yeah, because it wasn't your fault what your parents did or what someone did to you. What are you gonna do about it? It's like if a guy broke your heart. Okay, I could sit here and let that take me over and just turn into him and do people how you do me. Or I can be like, you know what? And keep this light shining like I've been doing. Okay. So look, you got a choice. Which wolf, like you said.
I love that so much. Yes, absolutely. Let's be real. Healing requires a lot of self reflection and accountability, as we keep bringing up. Like,
Mhm.
it's not just a clear cut thing. And then, however you self reflect is up to you as well. For me, I've realized writing things down just helps me see how my mind is working at that day.
Mm.
And if I've made any progress as well. Because if I read an older journal that I've written in compared to an entry I just wrote now, and I see like, wow, I don't even talk about this person anymore or this event anymore.
Mm.
or I talk about it in a different way, or I see the lesson that I learned, whatever it is, that's my way to self reflect. But then, even to doing mini self reflections, like, dang, I can't believe that really happened to me. But doing a check in, like, well, Jen, how are you feeling about that situation? Maybe talking to myself the way I would talk to you, for example, my best friend, right? Like, the words that I would want to say to you, I can say them back to myself and then see if I'm believing them or not. And if not, then realizing I still got a little bit more work to do on that particular subject.
And one way with my reflection, I learned to not get mad at myself if something still bothers me, because obviously it's for a reason. Like, something small ever happened to you and you feel some way, and it's like you get mad at yourself. So I learned, okay, well, what's wrong? Why is that still a problem? Like, let's address this. And I like to really nurture myself through that. So that's a part of it too, you guys. Do that too. And also to take time to look back at how far you came. Like Jen was just saying, when she realized something doesn't bother her anymore, like, pat yourself on the back for that. Like, dang, you survived it. You went this many days, this many years past it. That's a blessing in itself. You didn't let that take you down. Even if it still bothers you, you didn't let it stop you.
Yeah.
And I think we don't give ourselves enough credit for how many trials and tribulations we have been through, and that we did not let stop us.
Mm-hmm.
I always talk. Oh, sorry, cut you off. Go ahead, huh?
No, I cut you off. I'm sorry.
I always talk about pausing is better than stopping. It may have paused, you shook you up a minute, but you got your ass back up, and I think that's what matters. But go ahead. You go ahead.
That's true. No, you bring up a good point, because how they say, like, oh, if you stop, you fail. Well, yeah, that's the only way you do fail. But if you're pausing, I don't think you're failing at something. So it's a similar thing with your healing journey. This is something silly, but I was just going to bring it up because it is kind of like a small reminder to look back at how far you came. So I know, like, Snapchat does those, like, oh, this was date like 3 years ago or 4 years ago or whichever, or even like your phone, right? Like, I know iPhone does like portraits through the years or something like that. So recently a slideshow popped up on my iPhone of a particular day that I had taken pictures, and it was like 3 or 4 years ago, and I just thought back to what I was dealing with around that time. So around 4 years ago is when I had that toxic relationship that I talked about and everything. And just remembering how I felt that day, even taking that picture, seeing it today, I was like, wow, I do not even feel like that. I don't even think about that person anymore. I don't even feel that way towards that person anymore. Yes, whatever we went through, but I don't have bad blood for them. I don't despise them, or anything, or wish them bad or anything. But also, I see the type of woman I am now after that situation. So that was like a good reminder for me of like, dang, Jen, back at that time, you thought you weren't going to survive that heartbreak. You thought that was like the worst thing that happened to you. And like, it couldn't get worse than that. But now that you're older and more and wiser, you realize, wow, I have come a really long way. So if anything like that ever pops up for y'all, I hope that just reminds you how far you've come, and you've still yet to come.
And it's amazing when you can talk about it, and it's like nothing. Like, you're on a show right now, a popular, successful podcast talking about, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you good. And I think that's a part of, and I want to say this to you, just because you healed from something doesn't mean you'll forget the pain. Like, we'll never forget how bad something hurt us or what it put us through. But it's like, okay, you can look back and be like, that happened. It's like those scars on your arm. When I was 4, I fell right here. And it's like, oh, it doesn't bother you anymore. Right. And sometimes too, these triggers, they're just a test of your healing, like to show you, because sometimes stuff has been thrown in my face, like old stuff, and I'm like, wow, I don't even feel no way now that this got shown to me. You know what I mean?
That's big too, because sometimes we think just because we haven't thought about something or somebody in a long time, it means we're healed, right? Like, if we're getting tested, that's really when you know if you're healing or not. Because even like with this person, 4 years ago, yeah, it was really hurt, and I saw them about a year or so later. I thought I was over the situation, but I realized when I saw them, I wasn't. Now, it's a completely different thing. I'm happier in my life than I've ever been, thankfully. But it's just crazy because if I hadn't been tested, I would have thought I was over it at that moment and would have probably stopped doing the work to get over that situation.
Oh, that's so true. Like, I actually had a test happen to me recently, and I passed. I passed. Shoot. So honestly, laugh and smile. Shoot, like, look, okay. And I'm gonna be real. The glow that you have today, it comes from those past pains. Like that's where the glow comes from. Like surviving it. Like I'm proud of this glow I have right now. I can't even imagine the next level. Like you're just allowing yourself to keep climbing that thing even higher. Me and Jen actually were talking the other day, like our best friend conversations. And we're talking about like we're not 30 yet, and we're like, wow, I wonder the glow of 30. Like what how much wisdom we'll have when we're in our 30s, and the women will be. You know what I mean? And I think it's dope. Like to say you overcame something. You know what I mean? You grew through this, and this.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I know people try to be like, oh, they're getting out of their 20s and stuff like
You
that.
still
But I'm
popping
actually,
in there.
yeah, like I'm actually excited because if I've learned this much, then I can only imagine how much I'll continue to learn.
Exactly. And also too, y'all, some things aren't worth reverting back to your old ways. So you're gonna get tested. Shoot, a toxic person might even hit you up, like trying to get that out of you. But it's not, is it worth it? Like if you grew and came far, is it really worth going back or like putting your every time you get mad, you're hurting yourself. Actually, the miserable person wants that out of you. They get off to knowing, oh, I got her mad again, or ooh, look, she worried about me. And it's like when you give them nothing, that's where the power is. You take your power back in these situations. Even if
Yes.
you can't stand it, if you got to punch a wall after seeing them, don't get into them. Shoot. Okay, look at me giving all the tips away. Go ahead.
No, but I love that too because we've talked about this as well, right? Where it's like if you hold on a grudge or hold on to that pain, the only person it's really hurting is you. You are the container of those feelings. So that grudge is only ruining your day. It's only making you angrier, giving you wrinkles, whatever. Like it's messing up your mood. So what is it really doing for that other person? They're continuing to live their life. They're probably happy that you're still thinking about them, that they still have that power over you. So why waste your time on that? Like life is too short to waste our time on people who don't care about our presence in their life. They take us for granted, and I know it's easier said than done, but why settle? I had a friend tell me this the other day where she's like, we're too young to settle for relationships that because we have history with somebody,
Yeah,
because we love them or
it's
anything.
comfortable because it's this. Mhm.
Yeah. And then what? That just prolongs my pain and then takes a longer time for me to heal because there's more hurt that I now have to nourish, more in my soul, more triggers. So if we have a chance to let go of something, a situation that's no longer serving us, I suggest we take it sooner rather than later.
I agree. And honestly, it's time for our wrap up segment. How does this relate to self love? Self love is allowing yourself to heal, to progress. Don't you want to progress? Don't you want to give yourself the best? Allow yourself to do that, and cut off anything that's stopping it. And Bestie, what's our wrap up? Like our last line for tonight?
Healing is not pretty. It will require you to get to know and undo the most unlovable, unknown, unwanted parts of yourself, but it will be worth it in order to move forward.
Well said, y'all. We appreciate y'all tapping into our 76th episode live on the Good News Radio. Before we go, quick shout out to our amazing sponsor. Shout out to My Bar, located at 720 East Manchester, Inglewood, California. Ask for mine. Tell them that Speak Up JV. Since your Instagram is at myy.bar.
And shout out to our other sponsor, Be Actual Natural. All their chemical-free hair and skincare products are handmade, plant-based, and free of fillers or preservatives. Treat yourself while you're taking care of yourself. Start your journey at www.beactualnatural.com or check them out on Instagram at beactualnatural.
Yes, most definitely. So we will be back next Thursday live at 8:30 p.m. Tell your friends to download the Good News Radio app. Our Instagram is at SpeakUpJV. Our Twitter is at SpeakUpJV. My personal Instagram is at Vernice. That's V as in Victor, ERNISA. We love y'all.
Love y'all.
Bye.